Up, you guys? Namaste, and thank you so very much for being here. My name is Nela Ma'at. Welcome and welcome back to my channel, Rose Serpent Oracle. Today, I am feeling guided by my heart and my deep sense of care and responsibility and devotion. I would like to do a reading about shadow work. It's all going to be about shadow work. And as I am going to be obviously um, utilizing tarot, I'm also going to be speaking about shadow work. And why? Well, because there's a lot of misunderstandings and there's a lot of data out there. What about the many channels in YouTube and everywhere where we have people who are claiming to be at service, but are they? You know what I mean? And so my intentions are to show up, man, for those who are seeking truth, for those who are questioning, like, well, what are things, why are things not changing, why I feel like nothing is moving, or am I struggling so much with a stagnancy, or I don't know what to do, I feel lost, like I don't know, like going through the dark night of the soul and being awakened, right, having a spiritual awakening is intense. At first you're freaking disoriented, things are falling apart left and right, and you don't know what to believe, and even though spirit is guiding you, you know what I mean, you're gonna have to go through some things, like, let's just be honest, right? You're gonna have to go through a process to where you need to stop being a follower and practice discernment, cultivate discernment, and like question things. And what about the aspect to where you need to take yourself into accountability, and you must practice self-inquiry, and that's just what it is. And so once again, I'm setting intentions to be at service for those who are open to receiving. I'm gonna say take some notes. I am someone who likes to provide self-inquiry questions, because you are meant to be in introspection. That's how I approach my life. I take and I make myself accountable. And so self-inquiry is important, right? So we're opening the sacred space, and look what we have here. The devil, and then the seven of pentacles reverse, and this is the energy, right? The devil is, I'm still attached to something, I'm feeling lost and confused, I might be struggling with attachments, addictions, overindulging on things, escaping. This is dependency, emotional codependency, this is fear, this is ancestral trauma, holding on to old ways of thinking that are no longer serving you, all belief systems. These can be martyr mentality narratives. I'm victim, nothing is out there for me, everybody can, but I don't. This is self-pity. The devil is denial of one's shadows too. This is to where we are pissed off because people lie to us, but then we are also lying. You know what I mean? And so the thing though with taking accountability and responsibility, and the thing with working towards manifesting truth, you cannot just accommodate things to make yourself feel good about things. You have to be very in your heart and mind, like, there needs to be a desire to take yourself into accountability. And so I say that because we have an aspect of us that has been living in victimization for years and years and years. We have been programmed and conditioned to believe that we're victims, that life happens to us, that we have no power. Okay? And so, what I just did with the example of lying is to show you that if we are going to call ourselves out into integrity, we have to see it for what it is. And so, if I'm dealing with someone who is manipulative, I have an aspect of me that's also manipulative. I can find the reflection. Now, yes, different degrees, right, to the shadow. However, is there to show me something. I can integrate the shadow and then choose to what? Be the one who speaks with clarity. I cut the course if I have to. I seek guidance to in order to gain clarity. I stop making assumptions. If I'm dealing with someone who's manipulative and let's say I'm already in a relationship and the person is manipulative, well, what are you doing there? If you already know that the person has this big ass shadow of manipulation, and that what if they're always doing it? You know what I mean? So this is the thing. I don't know you, I don't know your life, but this is how it works. Shadow work is a calling into correction. Experiencing an spiritual awakening is a calling to face the devil. How are you keeping yourself bound to a devil? Through your mindset, actions, thoughts, right? And words. How are you casting negative spells upon you? We're talking about the shadow of a human. All humans, like I said, to a degree, we do things like this, right? Gossip, being hypocrites, right? We're talking about denial. We're talking addictions. Well, we criticize people for being addicted to alcohol, but then how many people are addicted to gossip? And how many people are addicted to be in one relationship and into another one? How many people are addicted to sugar, to eating, to drinking, to smoking? Doesn't matter what you're smoking, to pills, to TV, soap operas. We're talking about our shadow. Remember, it's the shadow of a human being. So when we're understanding the archetype of the devil, then things change, right? When we understand, I think I needed it to say that, when we understand the shadow of the devil. And I just want to apologize, my English second language, and I'm doing the best I can. Trust me, I am doing the best I can. And so, yeah, thank you for being kind and loving and for staying here. All right, so we have the devil, right? We can see the devil in the big screen. We can see the devil in our partner. We can see the shadow of the devil in our family, and it's okay. It's okay. It takes a lot of courage, because we have it too. And so what happens when we face our own devil? We integrate also the freaking devil within humanity, and we are no longer in victim mentality and martyrdom. We are no longer believing that we have no power to shift and change our lives, to heal, to walk away from situations that are unhealthy. You know what I mean? That's what happens when you integrate the devil. You integrate your shadow. Now your shadow becomes your source of wealth, prosperity, abundance, self-worth, self-reliance. It becomes the fuel. And what I just said is pretty much a spiritual alchemy, right? The person who understands spiritual alchemy, about transforming our shadows into something golden. We have these Seven of Swords reverse. Seven of Swords is I'm feeling trapped. I don't know how to change my situation. Like I said, I feel like I'm in lack, in scarcity. I am still looking. This energy together speaks of we have to review our foundations. So when you are coming into relationships, are you in a relationship where there is reciprocity? Did you enter into a relationship from a feeling of healthy independence, self-reliance? Do you attending to your own needs, your physical needs, your emotional needs? Or did you enter, or have you entered, and even let's take it further, your family dynamics? What is it? Do we enter into relationships from a place of meeting, right? To where we are feeling whole, or are we coming from a place of lack? Because we're seeking to be safe, because we still are very insecure, because we are in the shadow of greed and vanity, superficial, holding on to beliefs that we cannot make it, that we cannot do it. And so what? We we enter into relationships, right? From those places. We settle down, we stay in houses where there's no flow of reciprocity. We're being disrespected. There's manipulation, there is cheating, there is imbalances, there are lies, there's one side is sacrificing and the other one is taking for granted, or vice versa, whatever, or both are doing the same. There's no respect, because we're lacking self-worth and self-respect. And so now here we are, right? And so Spirit is saying we have to face truth, what's underneath the issues. And now we cannot make people change. You cannot force anyone to change. You cannot force people into having a spiritual awakening. We cannot. You are responsible for you, and if you have children, you're responsible for your children. And now, if we're talking about we have children, well, we have to heal, right? Because we are the stewards of those children. Those children are the children of the source creator, the mother and the father. You can call it God, universe, or creator. We don't own the kids, right? We are stewards. And so we are meant to heal and become an example to our children. And so what happens if you are in an unhealthy marriage or relationship? Or what if your behaviors and your actions are very immature and you're exposing your children to messed up things, man? Like, once again, I'm not judging. We're doing shadow work. We're speaking true. We're going deep within things, because this is the current energy. It's time to face what's living underneath our issues. What is the truth? How do you take responsibility and accountability for your life? How do you feel about healthy independence? What does it mean to have a healthy relationship with yourself? How do you feel about your inner foundations? How do you feel about practicing virtue? Or are you lost in your own devil and attached to also the devil of the world? Because the world is also selling you a devil, an illusion that wants to keep you trapped in poverty and lack, disempowered, believing beliefs that are not truth about yourself, others, the world, and about creator. So when we're talking about facing this energy, we need to look at foundations. What is out of balance? What is in disharmony? What aspects of you are in disharmony, right? Because you are not just one aspect. You have the inner child, you have the inner teenager, you have the divine feminine and the divine masculine within you. Yes, within you there's a man and a woman, if we're going to talk about the law of gender. And our feminine and our masculine, right? Pretty much we're talking about, we're carrying our ancestors, the males and the females within us. And with that comes memory, and with memory comes all of it. The ugly, the beautiful, the distorted, the creativity, the spiritual gifts, but also karma that we have to attend to. Because, yes, that's how it works. And so, the devil, the archetype of the devil, all of those stories and narratives that you use sometimes, or maybe all of the time, to justify the why you have not take accountability or responsibility in your life, or to make yourself comfortable, because in truth you're afraid. At the end of the day, when you go underneath, you're afraid, or you're or you're shaming yourself into not doing something, and you're shaming yourself into suppressing how you feel and the things you love, your most freaking heart desires. You shame yourself because you convince yourself that there's nothing out there. There's not. The devil said there's nothing out there. Stay here. Stay here. Stay here playing small, playing victim, right? Stay here blaming others. All of blame our family because we didn't have and we were lacking, and now I am the result of all of the things. And I'm gonna say yes. However, breaking free from the devil, integrating the devil, experiencing an spiritual awakening is a calling to realize, my love, that you were meant to go through all of those things, and now you're being called into breaking free. Because you came here to go through the distortions and the struggle, and look, reliving your family dynamics and traditions and all of the things in your own, right? And then you're meant to move to the other side, to where you transform and you evolve because you learn from it, right? So we're talking about the polarity, and we're also talking about the duality. And so you come here to what? To grow, to evolve. And so if you're here, and if you're seeking truth, and if you are experiencing a spiritual awakening, it is because you're being called to correction, to improving, to learning new skills, to activating your gifts and your talents, to becoming a more virtuous person. Become more like the creator's source, right? The positive attributes or archetypes, right? Creator is saying we have to break free from shame, shaming ourselves. We have to break free from the stories that your life needs to look like everybody else, that you're meant to be like your family, that you're meant to carry their crosses, their stories. Oh, martyr, I'm a martyr, right? The story of the Christ that is carrying the cross of shame and guilt and disempower. That's, sorry, the devil. That's carrying the freaking devil. Instead of integrating your devil and turning this into fuel to make a difference in this world, to leave a legacy of love and healing for your family. Because at the end of the day, we can be so focused on the devil, materialism and greed and money, but then when you're gone, like, how are you kiddos gonna use the money and the resources that can be gone yesterday? Like, the real legacy is gonna be teaching them to not fall trap to the devil of the world and through our own devil, right? We want to teach them to have a healthy sense of self-worth, self-respect, independence. We want to teach them to take accountability, to practice kindness, to be a loving person. We want to teach them about true ancient spirituality. We want to say, there's a way to live life to where we don't have to self-abandon and punish ourselves and shame ourselves and live in guilt, feeling like we're not worthy, and with the wound of not belonging. All right? Okay. Two of Cups, and we have Nine of Swords. Two of Cups reverse, Nine of Swords. When the Two of Cups reverse once again, we have to reconcile feminine and masculine. Nine of Swords is the mind. All those swords are a representation of narratives, thought forms, belief systems, ways of thinking, ways of perceiving life, perceiving yourself and perceiving others that create separation. Two of Swords, separation consciousness. Because I feel separated within me, because I'm rejecting aspects of me. It can be my shadow. It can be that I'm suppressing my inner child. It can be that I'm rejecting and shaming my divine masculine. And so now I am experiencing this in the outside world. Because everything, right, how I feel within me is going to be channeled. You're a freaking projector. You're projecting all of that into the collective consciousness. And so this is separation consciousness, right? This is also I am right and they are wrong, or feelings of entitlements, or creating ego identities, or being very overly identified with your skin color and all of the things, and creating narratives that create separation. So now I'm hating towards the other, but at the end of the day, we are not the body. The body is a vehicle that we're using to have this human experience. We are spirits having a human experience. And so this Nine of Swords and this Two of Cups reverse is saying we have to go within and we have to write things down. Who am I? If we release the last name, skin color, their narratives, what happens to me, like who am I? Am I my body? Am I the skin color? Am I the money? Am I the bank account? What dictates who I am and who I am not? My sense of self-worth or my sense of belonging, right? When we're talking about resources, how do I feel about having a healthy flow of resources? Do I feel like I chain myself into not studying, learning new skills, moving forward, right? Getting out of my comfort zone. If I chain myself into not doing it, can I recognize that there is fear? And what are those fears? Fear of responsibility, wounded masculine. Fear of commitment, wounded masculine, right? All we can do is take a look at the men in our lives who have run away from commitments, from responsibility. How many of us grow up without a father? Wounded masculine, we're afraid, right? So we carry that within us, right? Have I ever experienced was to be wealthy, prosperity? What brings a sense of security? Am I attached to a material world? Am I trying to find a sense of safety and security in money, in the material? Why? Where does that come from? Is that true? Or can anything be taken yesterday from you? So if anything can be taken from you and all there is left is you, where does your source of abundance, prosperity, and safety comes from? Who's in control? Is it the government who's in control? Who's in control? If you speak of God, who's in control? Is it God or is it the government? Like, what's going on? What are your beliefs? What are you believing to be true? Have you investigated? Have you read about the ancient teachings? Do you know about the laws of the universe? Do you know about the different dimensions? Do you know about the different vehicles you have and you're responsible for? Right? Nine of Swords. I'm in my head. I'm in my mind. Do I have the tendency to overthink? To think and think and think and to all the way to a point that I get stagnant. I don't do anything because I drive myself crazy. Well, Two of Cups, fears. I have fears. This energy is saying I have fears. What are your fears? Because the only way forward is going to be facing fears. Facing the devil. Have you faced something in your life that you were very afraid of before and you did, and you were like, oh my goodness, I just did that and it was great. Then you end up feeling the release. So that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Nine of Swords. We're talking about relationships. Have I ever witnessed a healthy relationship? What does that mean? And what does that mean for me? Because I'm not you, you're not me, you know? I mean, we unity, oneness, but I'm having my own experience. And so, what are your values, morals? How do you perceive relationship? What does it mean to enter into a relationship if you're not entering from a place of lack and scarcity and competition and jealousy and all of that? What is to have a healthy relationship? Have you ever experienced that? How do you feel about clear communication? How do you feel about vulnerability? Are you someone comfortable with being vulnerable? Are you someone comfortable with expressing how you feel, your needs? Do you have the tendency to burden yourself? And then be all pissed off, resentful because the other person is not doing all of the things that you expect, but then you're not communicating, and now the other person is feeling exactly the same way. So how do you feel about your relationships? Can you take a look at the relationship of your mother and your father, or if you or the people you grew up with? What can you see? Patterns of behaviors, right? Write down unhealthy patterns of behaviors in my family, unhealthy competition, gossip, defensiveness, um, feeling victimized, blaming, everybody angry, discontent. Why? How do they resolve conflict? Are you afraid of conflict? How do you feel about expressing your emotions? How do you feel about feeling your emotions? Have you seen with your human suffering? The devil. How do you feel with your human suffering? Do you know your shadows? The aspect of you that lies and manipulate, the aspect of you that blames, the aspect of you that criticize others, criticize yourself, feelings of entitlement, the part of you, you know, is egoic and it likes to put people down to make yourself feel better. We do that things. Those things, sorry, I want to say that shit. We do that shit to a degree. We're healing from that. All right? It takes cojones to take accountability and responsibility, because the moment you sit with your own shadow and your own devil and your own unhealthy patterns and behaviors, then you're gonna resolve situations with more ease, because then you have no problem with saying, hey, listen, I've been listening to you saying this, and then you say you're gonna change and you're not gonna do things, but at the end of the day you're not doing anything, and I'm not here to judge you. I'm just saying this is what's happening, and now we have a situation. So I'm not gonna put up with that anymore. You know what I mean? This is the difference. That's what happens when you integrate your shadow. That's what happens when you take your part, because then you start to see other people through different lenses. You're like, you can see that you have done that to a degree, and you can be more understanding, and now your communications change. If you read about communication, now you're communicating with more grace, and now boom, right? We can resolve situations, we can look for help, we can read a book together, listen to a podcast, listen to Rose Serpent Oracle, you know what I mean? But this is where we are. So these two of cups is the Nine of Swords is speaking about relationship issues. And remember, you have your relationship with Creator, number one, is going to dictate your relationship with yourself too. Your relationship with Creator, with yourself, is going to ripple into your relationship with others and then with the world. And so if your view and your relationship with Creator is of a God that is judging you and shaming you, and you need to be perfect, and it's keeping tabs on you from a place of then that's how you're going to be with yourself, overly critical and cynical and hurtful, using words, and you start to become that judge and put yourself down. But if your relationship with the Creator is like, all right, I know Creator is counting on me, I'm meant to take accountability and responsibility. I know that the Creator, if I pray and I'm seeking to correct something, I'm going to get the support. So it's okay. I'm going to meet myself with compassion. I know Creator knows that I'm going through this human experience. I struggle, but I'm going to put the work. Please give me the courage, the strength, the words, the power to touch my heart and to help me process things and to see my own self more clearly so that I can correct and heal my relationship with others. Creator, please. That's very different, right? Then the God is, and we have been programmed to shame ourselves, to judge our own selves like that. And now here we are passing that to others, on to others. Okay? So, all right. I feel like this is kind of long. We're gonna get two more. Okay, so the Hierophant, perfect, and then we have the Five of Wands. So we're talking about Venus. We're talking about the Hierophant. Spirit is saying, how do you feel about your foundations? How do you feel about traditions? Are the traditions that you're still holding on, coming from your family, serving you? What have you learned from your family? Once again, patterns, positive and negative. How are they influencing you? You need to unpack that so that you can see it and process it. What and because these five speaks of conflicts. Feeling conflicted within, I'm experiencing conflict with others, I feel like I don't belong, I start things, I don't finish, my foundations are not solid, I might be separating myself from others, I might have problems in relationship. Once again, I don't feel worthy of having something solid, I might be afraid of commitment. The Hierophant, Venus, will say temptation. How do you escape? What are your coping mechanisms? What are the stories that you use to justify your actions or the actions of others? How do you justify the actions of others? How are you wearing rose-colored glasses? Emotional dependency, emotional codependency, because we have Taurus energy. Are you with someone because of what they have to give you when it comes to money, or you're looking for the big diamond, or is it about their physical appearance but there's no real intimacy? How do you feel about intimacy? What is intimacy? What does that mean? Are you being honest? Is the person who you are with honest? How do I feel about my job, my work? Do I feel like I'm living fulfilled, or can I recognize that I am experiencing depression, that I'm unhappy, that I'm living in survival? You need to get your ass out of survival. This energy is also speaking about survival. You have to quit doing the things that you know that are not good for you. Can you recognize that in your family there are addictions to alcohol, to smoking cigarettes, to smoking the ganja, pills? Do you have an addiction to be in relationships, to sex, to pornography? All of that. We need to take a look at all of that. This energy is really calling you into accountability. How can you first come back to integrity first, and then right use of power? If you want to manifest something, is that coming from a place of feeling altruism? Do you really want to be a healer and do the things you want to do because you want to bestow upon the world? Or there are other intentions? You need to add the devil to it. If you still are in survival, you need to understand that the energy of survival will ripple into your creation. So this energy is saying, get out of survival now. How we get out of survival? By prioritizing meditation, transmuting pain. Yes, you have to be there. You have to be mindful. You have to cry that shit out. You have to feel the feminine and masculine rage. You have to sit with your shadow, with your inner child. You have to work with your inner child. You have to exercise. You have to take walks, right? I'm not saying go and do boot camp. I'm saying you have to change your being. You need to call on your guides, reconnect with your ancestors. You have to choose a healthy lifestyle and clear the ancestral trauma. I'm just going to keep it here because I know that was a lot, but very powerful. I know what I got to offer. And so I'm going to say, I love you guys. May you be blessed on your journey. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Please let me know if this resonated. Save this reading, take notes. Do the work, and I promise you that things will change. And it's important to be very, very grounded right now as the world is shifting and it's changing. And Creator is giving us the opportunity to evolve and to grow and to prepare for what is to come. But if we're just settling down and if we're claiming, readings that are feeding us disassociation and spiritual psychosis and it's just lies, you know what I mean? Like if we're not doing the real work, that's, it's time to wake up. All right, you guys, namaste, blessings. Thank you.